And then we have a nice piece of imagery where the temperature, the weather, the climate, if you like, is being described as a nightmare. And I think what's crucially important when you look at this line is that you do not forget that this is a description of what our country is not. That's what it actually is. She doesn't explicitly say that's what the war photographer, the place the war photographers just visited was, but she's saying ours is not, and therefore that infers that that's what it is. Yeah. It's also quite convenient because we've got this rhyme on feet and heat. And don't forget, obviously, the use of rhyme as well if a question's directing you across lines. Okay. So come back to the image. The inferred, probably be more accurate, temperature of the setting for the photographs is being compared to a nightmare. The similarity is that both are extremely unpleasant and uncomfortable. But it does more than that. It also alludes to the horrors that can actually be witnessed there. Something is happening. Is a short sentence, the purpose of which is to create tension and intrigue, and that's obviously in terms of the reader. If somebody says to you that something is happening, the question we all have is, what is it? Okay? And that's what the narrator then goes on to reveal. But it's done very slowly. A stranger's face, his features faintly start to twist before his eyes, a half-formed ghost. And even by the time we get to the end of that sentence, it's still ambiguous. We're still not sure about what literally is actually happening. Now, where does that ambiguity come from? What the narrator hasn't told us at the beginning of this verse is, where are we observing? Are we in a war-torn country, or are we still at home? And that's where the ambiguity comes from. Are we watching a photograph developing, or are we actually watching somebody suffering? And because there's no identification of setting, we don't know. And the word choice would be, the word choice is deliberate to create that ambiguity. Let's have a look at some of the word choice. Actually, we'll have a look at this particular image that contributes towards it. We have a metaphor here which can actually have two interpretations. Is it literally describing the forming of an image on a photograph, or is it metaphorically describing someone suffering and essentially dying? And that's what we don't know. So if we were to do the step-by-step analysis on a half-formed ghost, what is being compared to what? Well, the stranger, or some aspect of the stranger, is being compared to a half-formed ghost. What is the similarity between the two? Depends on your literal or metaphorical interpretation. Literally, the similarity would be that the image has not been fully developed, so it's only half-formed. In the metaphorical interpretation, the half-formed marks a step towards death. It was one of the things that I wanted to pick up on that I had omitted to talk about properly last time, which is actually the use of rhyme within the poem. So I just want to go back to the first couple of stanzas and mark out, I think I identified one of the sets of rhyme, but not the other. So in the first stanza we have a rhyme on rose and glows, and then we have a rhyme on mass and grass. In terms of your identification of technique, what we've actually got is paired rhyme. So if we were to do the step-by-step analysis on a half-formed ghost, what is the similarity between the two? Depends on your literal or metaphorical interpretation. Literally, the similarity would be that the image has not been fully developed, so it's only half-formed. In the metaphorical interpretation, literally, the similarity would be that the image has not been fully developed, so it's only half-formed. in that the lines are paired, they are together, it is unbroken by another line interjecting them. So in terms of you identifying technique, if you had a question that referenced those specific lines, you would be identifying the use of paired rhyme. What you would then need to do if you were analysing the use of rhyme is to then look at the connotations or the significance of the particular specific words that are rhyming. Okay, so you're looking at the significance of chosen words. So if we take the second pair and we look at this idea of mass and brass, well obviously it's placing significance on this word mass, which is a religious ceremony, an important and significant religious ceremony. And it's also placing importance on this idea of grass. And the grass really is the thing that creates the sense of unity of the circle of life, the interconnection between us and nature. Okay? So if you were asked, if the question asked you, I wouldn't expect a question that asked you specifically online, but if you looked at the paired rhyme within those lines, you would need to be talking about the significance of the words that are actually rhyming. Okay?